Together is a horror comedy thriller starring Alison Brie and Dave Franco, and it's one of my favorite films from South by Southwest this year.
I love you.
I love you too.
Together actually made its world premiere at Sundance earlier in January and ignited a bit of a bidding war in the process, with A24 and Neon both showing interest in the film. Neon ultimately acquired Together for roughly $17 million, which made it one of the biggest sales in Sundance history. Neon is already very much on their A game when it comes to marketing. Before walking into the Paramount Theater to watch it in Austin, I was handed a bottle of water with some very specific branding, and after leaving the theater, I was given a packet of lube. No spoilers, though. Together as a film is a pretty wild ride. Dave Franco and Alison Brie are, of course, a real-life couple, which is such a perfect fit for a project that is more or less a body horror depiction of the codependent state that we might enter into during a long-term relationship. In fact, some days on set, they were literally stuck together for hours at a time, so they had to do things like take bathroom breaks and the like together. So it's definitely a good thing that they are so comfortable with one another. Director Michael Shanks talked about the script and how it depicts some of these horrors of codependency before the Texas premiere at South by Southwest, and he shared with the audience how when he first presented the script to his partner, who he's been with for 16 years now, she responded with something along the lines of, "This is deeply troubling, but no worries, they are still together and she loves the film." Together pulls you in from the opening shots. We see a search party and a pair of dogs drinking from a mysterious fountain, but no answers are given. We then quickly shift to Franco and Brie's characters at a very funny going away party, and these super abrupt tonal shifts are risky just in general, but in Together they end up working quite well. By quickly moving between tension and comedy, Shanks essentially keeps us on our toes and we never quite know what to expect. And I think it's important to note that Together is not just sort of funny. It was one of the funniest films that I watched at South by Southwest, which was a little bit unexpected. That being said, I would also advise you to not get too comfortable. While the film doesn't depend on classic jump scares, so to speak, I definitely did let my guard down a little bit too much, and I consequently ended up jumping out of my seat at one point. So it does hit you with the horror as well quite effectively. The visual language of the film also echoes this sort of contrast between lightness and darkness. We move from very claustrophobic, shadow-heavy indoor scenes to vivid green outdoor landscapes, which very much mirrors the internal kind of tug-of-war of our characters, particularly Dave Franco's character. At its heart, Together is about the very real, unsettling fear of losing your identity within the confines of a relationship, and the horror elements of the film give physical shape to this fear and move beyond metaphor into some brutally literal physical manifestations. Still, Together isn't a thesis against codependency. It's a lot more nuanced than that, and it does ultimately show us the possibility of beauty within committed love while still very clearly acknowledging the scary reality of commitment. Honestly, anyone who has ever been in a long-term relationship will probably find themselves relating to many of the dramatic beats here, for better or for worse. It's a super sharply written film. The sound design and the visual style keeps us on edge. And as someone who literally left the theater with a packet of lube in hand, it does seem like Neon is really going to be pushing the marketing on this one. Be sure to check it out this summer when it releases in theaters on August 1st. Thanks so much for watching. Really do appreciate it. Subscribe, like, comment. All those things feed this crazy YouTube algorithm that provides me sustenance. Thanks so much. Have a great day.